more questions on this?
I'll just say before we get started, we start voting on all these, we got a commission that we've said this is your job to figure out whether these things are yes or no. And if we say no, we send one of these back to them. What do we do? We're saying we don't trust it. So.
Well, what will the process be if it is returning to them?
Just, you know, very simply, it gets remanded back to the board. The issue is reopened before the board, and the board could either choose to grant it or deny it. If it's granted, it is just granted. It does not come back to the council.
We as a council can't deny it, though.
Yeah, your only action would be to either approve it or
to. The only thing we can
deny
deny is either grant it or send it back. We have two choices.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 10-20.
Roll call.
Laney?
Yes.
Rader?
Yes.
Steinkamp? Yes. Huss?
Yes.
Ovalnor?
Yes.
I'm curious, did this variance committee know that they would open up a channel?
Well, and that's where I have some particular questions, and I apologize, Daryl, that I missed your comments because I would have been very curious to hear those. I know in particularly on the lake lots themselves, there has been a lot of history as it relates to the lot line sizes, variances, what have you. I mean, I think that history goes back as long as that areas of the lake have been incorporated. But can you just, is there a brief sort of summary that can just kind of speak to what the intention of previous councils maybe have been, and I know that will vary greatly because it obviously changes frequently, but with the history that I'm hearing, it sounds like there has been, you know, great fluctuations in the commitment to maintaining and sticking to the ordinances. And, you know, that variance has been issued, you know, yes and no, quite differently through the years. You know, we as a council have never really spoken as a group as to kind of, you know, questionably what our feelings are toward this, in particular toward the lake lots. And I don't necessarily think that has to be any different than the you know, the town lots or what have you. But you know, those lots are so small, and you know, I agree with the concept. This is going to open a can of worms. But can you briefly just give, if possible, you know, what the intention was and how this has varied through the years as to this ordinance and the issuance of variance?
Just a real brief recap would be that Lakeview redid our zoning code in the year 2000. And prior to that, we did not have a board of adjustment. Okay, so we instituted a board of adjustment as of year 2000. And just understanding that the entire concept of the Board of Adjustment and the issuances of variances is that you have zoning regulations that by their nature, these zoning regulations are intended to apply to every property. Every property within the zoning district is subject to those same regulations. Well, you know that there's no way you can write zoning regulations that really affect each property the same, or each property would be covered by these same regulations, because there are some peculiarities or some certain quirks associated with either the existing structures or possibly the geography of the land or something like that. So because you have these peculiarities that really need to be addressed on a case-by-case basis, then you have the Board of Adjustment. So if there truly is a good justification for varying from the law, there's procedures in place that allow you to do that. Okay, so over the course of the years, yeah, I would agree with your comment about inconsistency, because some applications for variances have been approved, others have not been approved by the board. There's been at least 2 cases where things have been approved by the board and remanded back to the board. And Aaron and I have had this discussion many times about, trying to define some consistency across the board's decision. Is difficult to do because it has been kind of up and down. But the board, over the years, would tell you each case is considered on its own merits. I also think it's a real fair statement to say that the board is really in flux right now, and it's kind of a changing board because we've lost a couple of the real long-serving members over the past year. And, particularly Bob Mansfield had been chair of the Board of Adjustment ever since really its inception. So we're kind of in this changeover period now with, 4 of the members on that having, 2 or 3 years experience or less.
Well, and I think personally speaking, and as a council member speaking, as a community volunteer speaking, we certainly want to promote and encourage property improvement, and folks that are interested in adding value to those properties. I just think that we are walking a really fine line here, and we can say that about a lot of the decisions that we make at this table. But at the same time, there is, and will continue to be, regardless of the economy, I'm sure, continued improvements to properties around the lake, whether it be tear downs or additions. You can't walk far outside your home without seeing a couple of them in progress today. That we really, and then this is no lack of respect for the board. I think they have a challenging job, and certainly I think we've entrusted them to do the right thing. But I really think we do need to strongly consider the types of things that Siobhan and Daryl have mentioned to us, and I'm sure certainly many others that you've spoken to in the last week or so since this came out. But our lake is our asset, and certainly as it relates to properties around the lake, that drives a tremendous amount of taxable value for us. And I think we really need to consider the impact that granting these variances will create down the road. Not necessarily, these 2 in particularly, because I think they each individually need to be, viewed on their own merits, just as the board has done. But at the same time, what it will run into inevitably is where I have great concern.
And I would hate to go back and tell the committee that maybe they're not quite looking at this the right way.
And I'm not suggesting that we're not looking at it properly. I just, I just have great concern about what the whole process. I realize you have to have a process for exception. I'm just concerned about what this is going to create for us down the road.